Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to be going over the Module 4 Master TA lecture for CIT 247. Some topics I'll be discussing today are problems on switches, how to troubleshoot these issues, and I'll give some examples of these problems. Now, before we begin the lecture, I want to preface it with this. So the command guide is going to be very important for this lab. This lab is going to be different from Module 4. It's going to be a troubleshooting lab. So instead of building networks like you've been, you're going to actually be given a network that's broken. In other words, the PCs in that lab won't be able to communicate with each other, or won't be able to communicate with certain ones. Your goal will be able to make the computers that are supposed to be able to communicate with each other to communicate with each other. In other words, you need to resolve connectivity issues in in the network you're going to be given. So there's a number of commands you can use. For example, ping is going to be very important. That's like the first command you're going to be using in your lab. Once you discover certain computers that can't communicate with one another, you're then going to want to go on one of the switches and begin typing a bunch of show commands. Like you're going to be wanting to check the interfaces. Like you're going to want to check if an interface is down. The way you can tell this is by seeing this code: administratively down, or admin down and then down. That's a disabled interface that you need to bring back up. Speed duplex issues really aren't covered in this class, but that's another issue you can find in real-world networks. Also, VLANs, you're going to want to check your VLANs, like make sure all the ports are assigned to the correct VLAN. Then trunking cables. There's a number of issues that trunking cables can have, such as incorrect native VLAN, also incorrect mode. Like it may be a cable that's supposed to be a trunking interface could be an access port or set up as an access port, and then that trunk could also be using the incorrect encapsulation mode. Now, as I just mentioned, um, native VLAN, they're fixing a native VLAN on a trunking cable. I don't believe you've done that before, so I've included this solution in this lab. Also, the solution to re-enable a VLAN is just the same as enabling an interface. But anyway, the rest of the solution commands, in other words, the commands to resolve the issues, you'll need to look back at past command guides, and that's a practice I want you to get used to because you'll need to do that for the exam. Actually, that's what they're for. For like GNS exams or the GNS portions of the exams, you can look back at the command guides and go through those labs a little quicker. But anyway, that's now that introduction's out of the way, let's go on. Let's get ahead and start the lecture. So a little background on troubleshooting. So much of your time in the real world, in other words, in your job once you graduate from college, will be spent fixing networks rather than building them. So you've noticed for the past 3 weeks we've been building networks. We've been basically putting switches together, planning on IP addresses, connecting cables. But when you're in the real world, depending on the position you take, like say you're a help desk person or you're a network technician or a network administrator, much of your time is going to be spent fixing network problems rather than designing and building networks. That's typically something for like I believe a network engineer. Which you can take that position if you want, but most of the positions you'll take in networking will involve troubleshooting to at least some capacity. Thus, it is critical that you understand how to troubleshoot and fix the various issues you can encounter in a network. Troubleshooting, for a definition, is a process of finding the root causes of connectivity issues and resolving them. Thus, this lecture is focused on the issues you can encounter in your lab and also in the real world. So this is a list of problems you will likely encounter in the lab. In your lab, there's 6 of them, and there may be more, there may be less. But anyway, these are some issues you want to look out for in your lab. So basically, these are going to be misconfigurations. In other words, somebody designed this lab they're going to be working on, but didn't configure things correctly, and it's your job to figure out what was misconfigured and how to fix it. So some problems you may run into are or include disabled interfaces. As I said, if you type in a certain show command, which I'll demonstrate later, and you find the command administratively down and then down, those those status protocols indicate that an interface has been manually shut down, and that's preventing traffic. An interface that has been shut down cannot forward any traffic, so that's an issue you need to look out for. Similarly, VLANs can also be shut down. The way to enable them, as my command guide showed, never demonstrated, is to basically enable them with the no shutdown command. Also, you need to look out for incorrect VLAN assignments on interfaces. In other words, interfaces may be assigned to incorrect VLANs, and that will prevent traffic. Also, there's a bunch, so incorrect native VLAN settings on interfaces, actually that's trunking interfaces. So that's one of three major issues you can find with trunking. Also, administrative mode may be wrong on the trunking cable. In other words, a trunking port may be set up as an access port, and you need to set it back as a trunking port. And then finally, the encapsulation protocol settings on a trunking port could be wrong. So there's two major encapsulation modes we discussed in this class. There's ISL and then .1Q. You want to use .1Q. ISL is not going to work in this class. So how to find problems. So there is a specific process you want to follow when troubleshooting a network. The first step is to find the problems. So when troubleshooting, the first step is to test the connectivity between devices in the LAN. Check which devices you can ping. This can help you narrow down the problem. So I have this little screenshot from GNS. So I'm pinging from PC1, and I'm trying to ping the other computers in the lab. So you can see here, I can't reach any of these computers. So I can assume that there's a problem with the E0/0 interface in IOU1. If such were not the case, I would most likely be able to ping PC2. So let me further elaborate on this, on how to find issues. So it's important to, it's good to think about where the problem might be. So as I just said, because PC1 can't ping the other computers, there's likely a problem with this interface on the switch. You could also try pinging the switch. At that point, would pretty much confirm that there's a problem with this port here, E00. However, if PC1 and PC2 can ping each other, but you can't ping PC3 and PC4, you can assume either that these ports are shut down, or that there's an issue with the trunking cable, or there could be a VLAN issue. Furthermore, if you can ping PC1, PC2, and PC3, but you can't ping PC4, then you can assume that there's likely an issue with PC4's port. So that's the general mindset you want to be in when you're working on your lab. So after you narrow down the source of the problem, you want to use show commands to help you find what the source of this problem is. For example, if a computer cannot ping anything, check the switch interface it is connected to. So you can see here I use one of the commands from my command guide. It's show interface description. This command is used to check if an interface is down. And this is an example of an interface being down. So you can see the interface name, which is connected to PC1, and then you can see its status. So it's admin down/down. What it should be is up, but it's down. But both statuses are down. Therefore, the port is disabled. So after you find the misconfiguration, you need to use the proper commands, the global configuration mode, and its submodes to resolve the problem. So I have a little screenshot of the terminal in IOU1 of me fixing the problem. So the first step is to enter global configuration mode. You enter conft, then you select the interface that's into E00, and then you re-enable the port. It's no shutdown. After you do this, you should receive a message confirming the change. Now, not all changes you'll do on the switch will receive a change or a message like this, but you can go back and use the show commands to check your work to make sure the change actually went through. Also, make sure you save your work. Use copy RUST to save your work. So if connectivity issues persist after you fix the issue, check if you can ping more devices. If you cannot, there may be more other issues yet to be discovered. Now to elaborate on this, so say we fix the port. Let's go back here. Let's say we fix this port on PC1, and PC1 can ping PC2, but this first PC can't ping anything else. You can assume that on IOU1 there might be more issues, like there might be VLAN misconfigurations, or there might be an issue with the trunking interface on IOU1. So thus you might want to stay on keep IOU1's terminal open and keep checking stuff. So if you believe you resolved all the problems on one switch, move on to another. That can even happen if a PC is still having trouble connecting with other devices. You'll want to check everything, like use the command guide here and check everything, like the ports, the VLANs, and the trunking cables. If everything is on the up and up, then what you want to do is move on to another switch. Your lab will have 3 switches and 3 trunking cables. Make sure to check everything when working on your lab. So also, if need be, you can always ask me for help. You can obviously email me if you have a problem. I can actually offer you an appointment in Zoom, or you can wait till my office hours and I can help you then. But be sure to reference the command guide as you work on the lab. That's going to be very important. So one more other thing before I go. I want to give a few more examples or 2 more examples of problems you might run into. Now, you probably have not seen these problems, and it's why I am showing you this. But trunking cables are very important to check in this lab. They can be misconfigured in multiple ways. As I mentioned, they could be their status, which you can see trunking right here. That can actually say access. I believe it will say access if it's wrong. Excuse me. There's other commands you can use to check if if an interface is not in trunking mode, such as interface show interface, then the interface main, and then switch port. This will show the administrative and operational modes of the interface. And I can actually even show you this right here. Show interface 00. Oh, actually, I think it's switch port. Let me check. Switch port. Okay, switch port's at the end. So basically, you get a big bunch of data when you're working. When you type in this command, you get a bunch of data like the name of the port, whether it's enabled. But these here, the administrative mode and the operational mode. This is what you want to look at. If it says access or dynamic desirable and static access, or especially the administrative mode, if it doesn't say trunking, then it's very likely a problem with the way it's configured. And that might be preventing your communications from going through. 2 other issues to look out for is incorrect encapsulation mode. Please do not use ISL for this lab. If you type in the show interface trunk command and you see ISL, immediately change that, but record it in your lab document, which I'll be discussing in another with either a post or a video. Finally, incorrect native VLAN. This is always supposed to be 1. If it's like say 200 or 10 or whatever, then you need to change that immediately. So that's it for the lecture here. Thank you for watching. I hope this will help you work on your troubleshooting lab. Again, if you need any help, please email me. You can even ask for a Zoom appointment. I'm happy to help you in that way, or just with a quick email. Thanks again, and have a good day.